metrics. But when you get in that interview, you have to explain that. When they ask you, oh, you said you did 25% of so and so with 100, talk to me about that.
Right.
You don't want to embellish too much, and you definitely don't want to lie. But
Right.
to answer your question, I look for more than surface level because I'm going to call you and I'm going to probe. I see here that you said that you mental health or so. If you can't answer, I know you got it from ChatGPT or you made it up or you just lied.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, you got to be able to walk it like you talk it too.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I can see that. That's and I'm gonna be honest. That's why I pulled you in because I like the practicality that you offer. Like you just not do this like you like no y'all. You very practical with your advice. So yeah, I like that.
I have a question, and maybe I missed it. So my thing is, I guess like to get to that next step. So if I'm gonna submit my resume and I do a word blurb of different, words that are gonna draw in the attention, but I still don't get past that point, what are suggestions to actually get that next step, I guess, further in so I get past the quote unquote the computer or the automated system that's just looking for certain resumes? Because a lot of the jobs that I look at and that I'll go apply, I know for sure I have the stories, I have, the knowledge. I may have not done exactly that thing, but with all of my previous, work history and everything, I know I could do that job, but I'm never getting to that point because the resume is always stopping me. I feel, in a sense.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great question. A lot of professionals have that same challenge, and it's a lot deeper than I can explain here in this hour. But I will say that you heard me mention earlier structure and organizing your resume. So it's more than just keywords and getting past the gatekeeper of AI or the applicant tracking system. And sometimes it's an actual human. It's me looking at the resume, right? So yes, you can put quantifiable bullet points and say, yeah, I did 100 caseloads of mental health behavior for 10 families. But if your next job below that, you worked at CVS as a cashier, I'm not going to look at you because I got another resume where she did it for 10 years. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that could be the reason.
and my thing is that I stay at jobs a long time. So I really only have probably maybe like 4 jobs on my resume. But because my tenure there is going to be 4 or 5 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I'm trying to shift into this field of analytics, a lot of my work is going to be a lot of customer service or a lot of coordinating type background, just because that was previously kind of what I did. And so it was easier. I always went with the easier. You got to take care of your family. You got to go what's easier than risk. So I went with what's easier and I stayed there because it took care of us. But now it's like I want to break into something different. And I have used ChatGPT to kind of, I guess, rewrite it for a specific role, but it's still not getting me past that point. And I was like, maybe it is something that I'm missing. I don't know.
No, that's good. And I appreciate you being vulnerable. And you make a good point. A lot of people have this question in their head, but you're vulnerable enough to ask. So I appreciate that. One thing you want to think about like when you get your house renovated, let's say you want to redo the fireplace. Like for the holidays, you want marble instead of maybe it's a brick wall. It You have to demolish it first, right? You got to take it down. You got to call somebody in a contract. You got to put the plastic on the thing. You got to get the kids out the house because of the smoke. They tell you not to come back. So you mentioned the shift is hard and it takes time. Think of yourself the same way. You've had 4 jobs doing customer service and whatever else you're doing, and now you're transitioning. It's possible to do. You give yourself grace, right? One, to learn the skill. That's what you're doing right now, right? It's not going to happen immediate. I don't care what nobody tell you.
Right.
So give yourself grace to say, okay, because you also have to become that person because you got to get in that interview and talk the talk, and then you got to actually do the job and you got to keep it.
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself grace. Okay, let me really learn this. When I'm sitting and I'm listening to Lorita and she's teaching me, see how she talk and see how she move and how she talk about joins and tableau and things. I can't just get in the interview and just, I did pivot table. Okay, talk to me about it. What kind? Talk about, you know what I'm saying? Talk about the project. So long answer to your question, it could be a lot of things. Without me seeing it, it could be the structure of the resume. If you just talked about, your past experience with customer service and anything else you've done, now what you want to do is extrapolate out of that the data points. And I'm sure Lorita has talked to you all about, you've done this, so you can absolutely do data analytics because you did data doing this. I've heard her say that to people. You did this. Those are the things you want to listen to. That's what you pull out. And you can work at CVS, but maybe you did the reporting and you counted the inventory and you did the receipts, and that's what you want on there. Not that I was on the phone, not that I was doing this. You did that. But let's just talk about the data part of your jobs and you don't need a lot of jobs. That's actually excellent that you don't have a lot of jobs because it shows that you're able to sustain, you're able to stay there, and you brought value because they didn't let you go. I don't know if they did or not, but
they don't know.
Don't downplay the fact that it's not only for
right
with longevity. That you should be proud of that.
Right.
Come on, Sade, come on, girl. You got this. Give yourself some grace. It's just you're gonna hit some walls, right? It took Michael Jordan 99 times before y'all heard the story. So give yourself some grace.
I ain't know that. That actually brings out another question. And Sade, if you got another question or follow up, you can go here because I'm gonna say something that I didn't even think about until you said what you said.
That makes sense, Sade, though?
It does. Okay. I just I guess I just have to go back and look because it is after this class that I've done, I actually do feel a little bit more confident in saying, oh yeah, no, I'm an analyst, y'all. Like I went to my job and I started telling people that because I applied for a role at my job for an analyst, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I know how to do all that. I know how to do baby analysis. Like they got to know Excel a lot more than SQL, but I've been learning databases with SQL and stuff. I was like, oh, I can do that kind of with one eye open, but Excel. So I've been trying to on the low listen to quantitative information that they give me because in my role I have to kind of know it. And then on the back end, when I have downtime, I'll go pull up an Excel sheet and see if I can create a sheet for it. And then I get on ChatGPT and be like, what's the equation for? And then now I know it. So now I know how to highlight some stuff. And, but it is just that kind of like that dead wall feeling. Like I'm so used to, we were talking about this yesterday. I'm so used to being in a marketing field to where I can talk about myself a lot. Like I can talk myself, I can boast myself, but when it comes down onto paper, because that's just my personality is more in person, that I think that kind of gives me the wall because my creative writing, it's all right, but I'm more of a people person. I'm more of an in person. I like for you to understand and me be in the moment and explain to you what I can do. So it's just hard to kind of relay that on paper because my memory is bad too. So I can do a lot of stuff, but then I won't remember what I did. And people are like, oh no, that's actually good. You did a lot there. And I'm like, did I? That was just my job. But to another company, me just doing my job can be
value.
Something 10 times, 10 times value added to them than what I thought I was doing in my everyday.
No, I think it's fantastic. I can tell you're very likable and you have a great personality. It's going to take you really, 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 really far. And you made a good point. On paper, it may not be the person that you are on the inside. So and if it's just a piece of paper, that's something we can fix, right? It's just organizing and structuring it in a way so it matches the person that we see in person. The other thing I wanted to share with you quickly is there is this, you did something, and I want everybody to hear this, what she did. Carla Harris, if y'all don't follow her on LinkedIn, go follow her. She's my mentor in my head. I met her a couple times, but she tells a story at one of the LinkedIn connections they used to have. She said that when she first started, her boss kept saying, we need somebody really tough that's going to be running this organization. Da, da, da. They kept saying we needed somebody really tough. She said, so what I started doing when I go into meetings, she said, now, I'm tough, y'all. So let's get this done. And she kept saying, okay, Jim, I'm tough. I'm tough. So this, and she kept telling herself that. I kept telling, just like you kept saying, no, I'm an analyst.
Right.
I'm an analyst. Because what's going to happen subconsciously, you're going to be like, you know what, I am an analyst. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the confidence is going to be there. And what I mentioned earlier is more often than not, and this is for everybody, including myself, because I had to learn this, you got to become the person first.
Yes.
Before it's on paper. Yep. Even before it's on paper. And then when you get in that interview, yeah, I am an analyst. And here's what I do. Now, I don't have experience with, but adjacent to that, I've worked on pivot tables in whatever lines. I haven't done da 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 da, but I've worked on da 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 da. So talk about what you do have experience in, not so much about what you don't. And you never say what you don't have. Just say, you know what? I don't have experience that. I'm familiar with it because I work with da 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 da. Mm-hmm. Right? But I have all of us have done something that's adjacent to a skill or a tool or a software, something like that. Don't because you can learn it. Mm-hmm. You can learn it. You can learn it though.
And one thing that I can say about Sade, what you just said, and I think that it's a good message for everybody. When you said you're in work and you essentially are being resourceful with the data that you have available to you. I think that is the most slept on skill ever. And what I mean by that is data is everywhere. And if you are already in a role where you have access to data, use it. Just like what you're doing is perfect. The student that I'm featuring next month, she was in claims. And she is a data analyst, a triage data analyst. She got her offer, a triage data analyst. And she said that the very next day after doing our first session, she went into work with that mindset. Who pulled the data? Where this data is coming from? How do I analyze that? In her current job. And that way it kind of leads into what Kelly is saying. You're starting to do the work, whether it is labeled or whether you identified it or not. You're starting to do the work. And in that, it becomes organic to who you are because you're doing the work already, what you have in front of you. And I think that is the most slept on skill ever, is to be resourceful with what you have accessibility to. What are you doing every day? And how can I take this and translate it into data? Can I get an Excel spreadsheet? That's literally how I started. Can I get a output of this data? Okay, I'm analyzing this. It's the total, and it can grow over time. And that is the most slept on skill. That's a very good thing that you're doing it.
Yeah, I went in there and me and we kind of beefing now. So I'll do all my work.
Yeah.
I'll take all the I'll do all the data and I keep it right there on my computer because I keep telling them when they come to me with too much, I said, whew, you're making me think above my pay grade. I said, I'm just a girl. I can't think that much.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, on the other side of things, I done have the spreadsheet, the table, to make 2 more spreadsheets of it. So when I think it was like our first or second class, and you said you need to start looking your everyday life, what you could make quantify. And I was like, and I went in there and I did that.
Yep.
I just took little things and then started building into bigger things. And I started playing around with a lot of my systems. And I was like, oh, I can export this. And so I did. And then I started playing around with the spreadsheets. But they don't know that because they don't want to treat you well. So they never will.
Take your skills. But for real though, that is, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, if you want to wait on the opportunity, you create the opportunity first, and then you leverage it. From that way, you have something concrete to speak to in addition to your skills. In this role, I quantified this, and another thing that Kelly brought out when you were talking, Kelly, you mentioned the to be like only bring relevant. Like, okay, don't say, okay, I did this, I did that. How do you quantify that and only showcase the relevant information within your resume? If you're gonna tell a story, you got to tell the story. So I think that's both of those were like those were gems to me. They were undercover gems, but I'm like, that's the game right there. What do you already have access to, and how are you leveraging your accessibility, and how are you showcasing it in a way that's like, okay, this is past. I am, doing this and third. We ain't doing it no more. What's the impact and what's the numbers behind it? So that's all I had to say.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good.
Did we have any other questions?
I had a question, but I think y'all about to go over the resume. And Sade, I wrote you on LinkedIn about Excel help if you need it. But on the resume, is it best to list? So I'm in the same boat as her. Like, haven't had a lot of employers, but most of my skills are from the 2 employers that I've had. But I don't have the certificates to back it. It was just learned. But is it better to list like more skills and then put them at the top, or like what is the balance of like how I should list things on my resume? And I see we about to go over it, so if you like want me to wait and we go through it, that's
No, that's a good question. That's a good question. You put the skills at the top, especially since you're in the technical space now as well. And y'all don't worry about how many jobs you've had before. That don't matter. What matters is your skill set, your level, your depth, your knowledge, your experience, your background. Speak to that. That's what matters. I'm not looking to see how many jobs you work. I want to know, can you do this job? I want to know, can you do this job? Tell me on your resume that you can do this job, even if it's one job. I got a client right now, she's been promoted several times, and it's just a thread of one job. That's all good. So don't think so much I've only had. That's a good thing. Y'all remember back in the day, it used to be looked upon negatively if you had too many jobs.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing. What you want to do though is make sure you're telling a story. What I mean by that is not just tasks, but outcomes, achievements, results. What was your impact? And a way to think about quantifiable metrics, I know they, fancy word and all that. It just want numbers. You're only going to use 2, time and money. Time and money. Have I been able to make the company money or save them money? Have I been able to save them time? If you don't have quantifiable metrics, then you ask yourself, what would happen if I don't do this? Think about it. Follow the trail. If you don't do this report and it doesn't go to leadership doesn't take it to, I don't know, the operating committee doesn't take it to the boardroom, the boardroom doesn't take it to investors, and they can't make decisions on how much traffic they should come in for the holidays. And if they don't know, then they don't know how much money. Think about it in that way. How does it affect or impact their bottom line? Follow the trail of what you do. If you didn't do it, what would happen? Ask yourself that question. Are we looking at Akira?
Oh yeah, Kira. But yeah, that's a good point too. Okay, so my stuff be dark, so whatever. But like my eyes, like baby, I can't take all that. So this is Akira's, and she actually did it in PDF format, which I know you're supposed to do that as well once you send it over. But regarding her resume, and essentially, I know you touched on it a little bit with Sade with that formatting. Let's get into her resume.
Maybe is Akira on?
Yes, here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, here.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Maybe 3 to 4 sentences so we can put the skills up there as well. Okay. We don't want it to be too cluttered, but like the last 2 lines, we could actually probably like proficient in utilizing call centers. See, that could be a bullet point, right? That could be a bullet point. Even skilled in handling high volume calls, resolving complex solutions and providing, both of those could be bullet points. And then the last one, seeking a challenging role.
Oh, I'm like, where are you? Okay, I see you now.
Because we want 3 to 4 really impactful sentences so that I can keep reading. We don't want to lose them in the summary. You want the person to keep reading to get to know you a little bit better. I always talk about the movie trailer. When you see a movie trailer with Matthew McConaughey and Denzel Washington or whomever you like, you want to go see the movie, right? Because of the trailer, people jumping out buildings, cars burning up, Make me want to keep reading. So I would say 3 to 4 sentences. The sentences aren't bad, but think to yourself, could this be a bullet point? Or am I really giving them overview of who I am. I like how you started out with an action verb, highly skilled. That's fine. Detail oriented. We could have started there as well. And you put 10 years. That's great. Yeah, everything looks good. I'll just shorten it, just condense it a bit. Okay.
Okay.
Let's put some skills underneath
I was
there.
gonna say. So her skills need
Yep.
to go underneath her professional summary.
Yes, put skills underneath there because you want to think about the top half of the resume is all we see. If we're on LinkedIn or if we're in an applicant inside the applicant tracking system, until we click the button, we're not gonna see the full view. Just gonna see this much. So what's gonna make me want to click that button and look at the whole thing? You got to give me something. So get me the skills that I'm looking for that particular job.